Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Frama Panyi. Shagun Ajayi is the sign language interpreter. We begin with the headlines. President Tinubu transmits proposed fiscal policy and tax reform bills to Senate for consideration. Nigeria hosts regional summit on wheat, commits to achieving self-sufficiency in wheat production. And Dominican Republic unveils plan to deport 10,000 Haitians. And now the news in details. President Bola Tinubu has transmitted to the Senate proposed fiscal policy and tax reform bills for consideration and passage. Provisions in the bills align with ongoing financial reforms of the federal government to enhance efficiency in tax administration, harmonization and compliance, and also help reduce tax disputes. The bills include Nigeria Tax Bill, Nigeria Revenue Service, Repeal and Reenactment Bill, Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. In the meantime, Senate has passed for second reading a bill to establish the South-South Development Commission sponsored by Senator Asuko Ekpiong and others from the zone. Federal government is committing resources to ensure that Nigeria achieves self-sufficiency in wheat production. This announcement coincides with Nigeria's hosting of the West and Central Africa Summit on wheat in Abuja. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
Countries across West and Central Africa have traditionally depended on wheat imports to meet the demands for one of the world's most important crops. Reports indicate that African continent spends $20 billion annually on wheat imports, with Nigeria alone importing 6 million metric tons valued around $3 billion each year. Nevertheless, agricultural researchers believe that the continent has the capacity to achieve self-sufficiency in wheat production, reducing its reliance on imports.
Production of wheat is becoming very profitable because of the new varieties that have been released to farmers, very high yielding, very responsive to the agronomic packages that were developed by my institute, Lecture Research Institute.
We have the ecology necessary to grow the wheat in our country. So Burkina Faso, you say, is a Sahelian zone, but we grow wheat.
This is our first interaction with this network.
This belief has spurred a gathering of researchers and key stakeholders in wheat production value chain from West and Central Africa to discuss strategies for enhancing wheat production in the regions.
Wheat is not just a staple. It is a vital component in economies, cultures, and nutrition. As we convene today, we recognize the urgency of our mission, the impact of climate change, shifting agricultural practices, and the global demand for food necessitate that we innovate and adapt.
There's not much we can do in transforming the wheat sector if we don't invest in science, technology, and innovation. If you need a game-changing scheme, we must invest.
The summit's focal point is prioritizing policy, innovative technologies, and investment in wheat transformation towards sustainable food security and economy in West and Central Africa. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Officials of the ECOWAS Court of Justice are being equipped with the necessary knowledge and skills to prepare them for eventual disagreements and disputes among member states within the framework of Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA. At a workshop in Abuja facilitated by the ECOWAS Commission, participants are being taken through all areas of agreement that have potential for dispute. Kelvin Ibonoaye reports.
The workshop is to situate tenets and protocols of AFTA within the framework of the ECOWAS trade agreements. Where there are conflicts with potential for disputes, the workshop will point them out and identify where ECOWAS Court of Justice can come in with particular emphasis on mediation, arbitration, and adjudication. The objective is essentially to eliminate legal impediments that can hinder member states of ECOWAS from reaping the full benefits of APTA, which seeks to create a single continental market for African trade, leading to economic growth and job creation.
As we know, Nigeria and the ECOWAS countries are not only members of our own free trade area, which is operationalized through the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, but they're also signatories to the African Continental Free Trade Area. And with any free trade agreement, there are bound to be instances where there are disagreements. So there has to be a mechanism on how to resolve this, and we believe the community courts of justice will have a key role in supporting member states to address any issue that may arise from the operationalization of trade agreements.
We clearly see that when there is a conflict in terms of the provisions of the two instruments at the continental and at the regional level, it's also only the court that can help us actually sort out and then guide the member state so that they can discharge their obligations under both treaties. Don't forget, Nigeria is a member of ECOWAS and it's also a member of the agreement at the continental level. So if it wants to understand how to decide its own obligations better, the courts themselves must understand the two different instruments.
At the moment, only Benin Republic in ECOWAS bloc is yet to ratify the APTA agreement, even though it is a signatory to it. Justices and directors of the ECOWAS court are attending the two-day workshop. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
And in the north of Côte d'Ivoire, thousands of refugees from neighboring Burkina Faso have fled to threats, extremist attacks, and abuse by an army-backed civilian militia who targets a section of the community. Comfort Fashion completes the story.
Insurgents' violence is another form of abuse, pushing Burkinabés to flee the terror spread by the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, VDP, a force made up of civilians recruited by the army to fight alongside troops, but who do not hold military status. The militia, which was formed to defend villages against jihadist attacks, has killed up since junta chief Captain Ibrahim Traoré seized power in the West African country in the 2022 coup. He vowed to regain control over a nation plagued by armed groups, mainly affiliated with Al-Qaeda, but some with the Islamic State. Many ethnic Fulani people, a community of mainly semi-nomadic herders, have joined the ranks of the jihadists. The community as a whole has become a target of the VDP.
Si le réfugié vient, donc eux descendent sur moi.
Host of Fulani refugees, Ibrahim Touré, said if the refugee come, they stay with him before getting accommodation. The ACLED, a non-governmental group that tracks conflict, has counted more than 26,000 people killed, but soldiers, militiamen and civilians in Burkina Faso since the start of the conflict in 2015. Comforts, Fashion, NTA News.
The Dominican Republic unveils plan to start expelling 10,000 undocumented Haitians a week as part of a crackdown on migration from troubled neighbors. More details again with Comfort Fashion.
Government spokesman Homero Figueroa says the operation is aimed at reducing the excessive migrant populations detected in Dominican communities.
Se acordó la ejecución inmediata.
He added that the expulsions will start immediately and will be done following strict protocols that ensure respect for human rights. The government said it took the decision in light of international community's delay in restoring stability in Haiti, large parts of which have been overrun by criminal gangs. After many months of delay, a force approved by the UN and led by Kenya has been sent to Haiti to try to restore order. Dominican Republic President Luis Abinader said they warned at the United Nations that either it or all the countries that had committed themselves to helping Haiti act responsibly in Haiti. Since coming to power in 2020, Abinader has taken a tough line on migration from destitute and violence-plagued Haiti. His government has also dramatically ratcheted up deportations, expelling 250,000 undocumented Haitians in 2023 alone. Haitians have for decades sought to carve out a better life in the Dominican Republic, a Caribbean tourism hotspot with one of the fastest growing economies in Latin America. The collapse of Haiti's economy and its descent into gang warfare followed a devastating earthquake in 2010, with each crisis exacerbating the flow of Haitians across the border. The Dominican government has said it would step up drone and camera surveillance of the border. Comfort, fashion, NTA News.
Flights resumed at a regional Japanese airport Thursday after an unexploded World War II U.S. bomb blew up less than a minute after a passenger jet taxied past it. Miyazaki Airport in southern Japan originated in 1943 as an Imperial Japanese Navy base, sending dozens of kamikaze aircraft on suicide missions. A plume of earth blasted at least 10 meters into the air on the edge of a taxiway at the airport on the island of Kyushu. The explosion, which blew a hole in the tarmac a few meters across, occurred less than a minute after an aircraft rolled past towards a runway. There were no reports of injuries, but dozens of flights were cancelled on Wednesday, affecting more than 3,400 passengers. The Self-Defense Forces Bomb Disposal Team investigated and concluded that it was a U.S.-made 250-kilogram bomb. Reports say in April 2024, the military safely removed 2,348 unexploded devices, 441 of them in the southern region of Okinawa. Before the nuclear bombings of the Nagasaki and Hiroshima in 1945, the U.S. Air Force heavily bombarded dozens of Japanese cities. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adeboyega Oyetola, has urged the newly inaugurated Governing Council of the Maritime Academy of Nigeria to positively contribute to the growth and development of the academy, which he described as a premier institution. He gave this charge during the inauguration of council members in Abuja. Vivian Ezadife reports.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
Administration of oath of office on the newly appointed council members of the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, or the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, is just a year old since its creation by the present administration. This event is part of measures being set in motion to ensure that the ministry aligns with President Tinubu's dreams and aspirations. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy urged the new governing council members to align themselves with the renewed hope agenda of government for efficient service delivery, emphasizing that the ministry reserves the right to override any board decision that does not align with the vision of the ministry.
It's essential that there is a strong and seamless synergy between the governing board and the academy's management staff. Collaboration and mutual respect between both entities will ensure that the academy functions efficiently and effectively. Your role is to provide strategic leadership and guidance, working closely with the management to create an environment that promotes academic excellence and practical training.
Chairman of the newly inaugurated board pledged to work diligently to elevate the academy to greater heights and to also ensure that it remains at the forefront of maritime education and training in Africa and globally.
I want to make sure that Maritime Academy is a notable name in the world, not just in Nigeria, but in the maritime industry all over the world. People must know Maritime Academy because we are going to build the capacity even of the school to train more manpower, and we want to work, like I said, even on innovation.
The Maritime Academy of Nigeria, ORON, is one of the premier maritime institutions in West Africa, offering specialized courses to seafarers and maritime industry professionals. With the new board now in place, there is optimism about improving the academy's infrastructure, curriculum, and international partnerships. Vivian Izadifi, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. We'll pause here, take a short break. We will be back with more news. Welcome back. And as flood devastation continues to impact communities across Nigeria, The Bank of Industry has joined other donors to hand over 18,779 10 kg bags of rice to the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, for delivery to 6 affected states. This is in addition to the 50 tons of humanitarian relief aid extended by NEMA by the United Arab Emirates to 10 states affected by floods. Ilyasu Yakubu reports.
At the handing over ceremony to benefiting states, NEMA's Director General Zubaida Umar says, breakdown for the 6 benefiting states shows that Plateau State got 1,669 bags, Imo 3,500 bags of 10 kilograms rice, Benue and Jigawa 3,000 bags each, Katsina 3,850 bags, while Zamfara State got 3,634 bags. Similarly, the 50 tons of humanitarian relief aid by the United Arab Emirates was shared among 10 affected states of Borno with 256 cartons of the humanitarian aid, while Bauchi, Sokoto, Adamawa, Kano, Bayelsa, Ondo, Abia, Rivers, and Enugu states all got 160 cartons each. Representatives of the benefiting states were all on ground on behalf of their respective states.
It's a great opportunity and a great gesture for human beings and countries. Thank you.
The DG NEMA said the donations of the relief materials by both the Bank of Industry and the government of the United Arab Emirates symbolizes deep sympathy for the people severely impacted by disaster.
I wish to most sincerely thank the donors and also urge the beneficiary states to ensure that the donated items are judiciously and transparently distributed to persons affected by flood and other disasters.
Available records from NEMA show that 180 local government areas have so far been impacted by floods, with 1,600,000 persons displaced and 280 deaths so far. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
And rescue operations are ongoing in Bajibo community, Mokwa local government area of Niger State, following a boat mishap involving about 300 people from Mundi community who went for a celebration upstream of the River Niger. In a statement by the Director General, Niger State Emergency Management Agency, Abdullahi Baba Ara, indicates that more than 150 people have been rescued alive and 16 bodies recovered, with scores of declared missing. Governor Muhammad Umaru Bago, in a condolence, described the incident as unfortunate and disheartening, especially with reoccurring cases of boat mishaps in the state in the recent past. And President Bola Tinubu has sent condolences to the government and people of Niger State over a boat accident that occurred Tuesday night at Mokwa local government area. The boat, which was said to be carrying about 300 people, primarily women and children, was sailing on the Bajibo River from the Mundi community when it capsized. President Tinubu commiserates with the families of the victims and prays for the repose of the souls of the dead. The President directs the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, to investigate the spate of boat accidents in Niger State and across the country and devise modalities to check the trend. He orders NIWA to expand the scope of its surveillance of inland waters to ensure people's safety and prosecute boat operators violating the ban on night sailing. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris says Nigeria is stepping up engagement with its neighbors and other regional and international partners to stabilize the Sahel region. He was the chief host at the maiden annual international lecture by the News Agency of Nigeria, NAN, with the theme Insecurity in the Sahel, dissecting Nigeria's challenges, genesis, impacts, and opinions, held in Abuja. Salihu Gwanara reports.
Insecurity has remained a global challenge, particularly in the Sahel region. As a giant of Africa, Nigeria is sharing a long and porous border with countries in the Sahel and is increasing its security vulnerability. However, Nigeria, more than ever before, is working to turn the tide by strengthening its role on multinational joint task force and investment in equipment and manpower, as highlighted by the government's image maker.
Since his assumption of office 16 months ago, 12 aircraft have been acquired to boost the fighting capacity of our armed forces, amongst other investments in the sector. In his independence anniversary 2 days ago, the President succinctly captured the successes recorded thus, and I quote, "On the security front, I am happy to announce to you, my compatriots, that our administration is winning the war on terror and banditry. Our target is to eliminate all the threats of Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and the scourge of all forms of violent extremism." End of quote. By understanding the root causes and evaluating the impact on our territorial integrity and implementing strategic policy measures, we can effectively address the challenges posed by this crisis.
He is confident that the future is assured in view of the successes being recorded in the fight against insecurity within 1 year of the current administration.
Undoubtedly, the erudite speakers, policy makers, and experts brought together by the News Agency of Nigeria here today to dissect the root causes of these armed conflicts will develop innovative solutions to tackle the challenges before us.
Mohammed Idris assured to remain focused towards ensuring a better society and promoting peace using the agencies he supervises as an instrument. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
And former Executive Director of Programs of the Nigerian Television Authority, Peter Igo, has been made the National Coordinator, National Senior Citizen Center, and Goodwill Ambassador of Age-Friendly Services and Elder Justice. Elizabeth Omori reports that this was at the National Medium Veteran Roundtable, where professionals in the broadcast industry and entertainers were also announced Goodwill Ambassadors to champion the cause of the older population.
Nigeria is taking steps to address challenges faced by its aging population, which is projected to triple by 2050. The likes of Mohamed Labo, Cyril Stoba, Danla Dibako, Tony Akposheri, and Chika Opala, also known as Zebodiah, have been appointed as Goodwill Ambassadors to utilize their expertise to come up with adaptable solutions to tackle issues affecting the aged.
It is up to us, the seniors, citizens, and those behind us, to see how we could partner together so that the elders could impart the knowledge and wisdom.
I'm so happily grandiose that the government has come about to think about the elderly who have contributed so much in building of this nation.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, in his message to the gathering, emphasized that caring for the elderly aligns with the renewed hope agenda of the President, and state governments as well as families should help change the narrative around aging.
An advanced age is neither a call to redundancy nor is retirement a death sentence.
There are engagements, the infrastructure situates everybody within the context of development. Nobody left behind.
Life after 60 is not a death sentence.
Issues such as healthcare, financial inclusion, and stereotyping were raised as key areas to address. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
And in recognition of its inspiring reportage on aging, which promotes positive public perception and value, the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, has been honored with the Age-Friendly Public Service and Elder Justice Advocacy Award. Elizabeth Omori reports that this was at an award ceremony to recognize organizations, individuals, and state governments accelerating actions in geriatric care.
You can even hear the sound of the cockroach.
The silence has been broken, and the aged in Nigeria can now live life to the fullest as advocacy on their dignity and rights strengthens. This event is a testament to the several moves by the federal government to remove barriers hampering all-round development of senior citizens in the country. Key actors in the care sector advocate reorientation on aging, improved health services, and abolishment of unfriendly cultural practices against older persons.
Your funding is really low for the millions of persons that you are in charge of. So in the 2025 budget, we are aggressively pursuing that.
Older persons' right to income security, older persons' right to continuing engagement is affected by discrimination across all the levels.
The NTA, royal foundations, institutions, non-governmental organizations, and state governments are part of those recognized for their commitment to promote social investments in aging for longevity.
Young people must stop undermining the intelligence and wisdom of the aged.
Anywhere in the country, outside the country, treat them just the way you can picture yourself when you get to that age.
Goodwill ambassadors of age-friendly services and elder justice advocacy of the NSCC were also unveiled. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
And now a check on Friday's weather prospects for Nigeria and other cities of the world. And that ends the news. Thank you for your time. I am Frama Panyi, and Shegun Ajayi has been the sign language interpreter.